Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines, coming to you from the West Coast. Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we are into our favorite video of the day, Nate. It is our player props video. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page, as we are going to have a gift card opportunity as well here for you in just a minute. As always, though, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com and find those listings in your area, such as what we've got for tonight. Nate, let's get into it.
Yeah, it's our favorite video and one of our favorite picks thus far, DeMar DeRozan. He did not come through at one point, I believe, against Dallas. But other than that, I think in like 3 or 4 props videos, he has easily surpassed his point total. He is still, even though, he did not get 30 plus in his last game, still a 34% usage rate. So the Bulls are always running things through him, especially on the road, where he's averaging about 29 points per game on 54, 46, 90 splits. He's actually hitting 1.4 threes per game on the road. So I think this is just kind of a silly fun bet, but DDR to hit a 3 in a win, plus 290 at FanDuel. The more intriguing bet is for him to get 25 in a win is plus 340, or even 30 in a win is plus 680. And we've talked about how good the Nuggets are defensively at home. That may be the case. I mean, the Bulls might only score 95 to 100 points in this game, but DeRozan, because of that usage rate, is going to be responsible for a lot of those points. So I'm not necessarily scared about the specific matchup or the fact that Denver's looking to bounce back after getting embarrassed by Seth Curry last night. Sigh. DeRozan has been pretty productive, 22 points per game, 8.7 assists per game, his last 3 versus Denver. He's averaging 31.7 points per game on 58% field goal shooting, his last 3 on this long West Coast trip for the Bulls, and has 35 plus in 3 of his last 4 on the road against winning teams. He is a winning player, and the Bulls, as I've said time and time again, when they don't have a lot going with the offense, will just hand the ball to DeMar and try to get something going through him. Because the Nuggets play at such a slow pace, this should be a half-court game. He should have the ball in his hands a ton. Right. Aside from the bonuses I mentioned, if you don't necessarily think the Bulls are going to win, just take DeRozan to get 28.5 points, rebounds, assists, because he has been piling up those dimes against Denver, and they might be blitzing him given his recent productivity.
Yeah, that feels right. All reliable DD, happy to take him. And I think it's great that we can eye these matchups where we've got a slow team that's a defensive-minded team in the Nuggets, or so we thought until they played the Philly last night. But either way, they are still a very defensive-minded team. Despite losing to Philly last night, they still only gave up 103 and still played at a very, very slow pace. So, yeah, I love eyeing these games where the Bulls take on a team that is really going to try to slow things down against them and go, that's fine. They have DeMar DeRozan, and that's where he thrives. It's not quite your turn, my turn with him and Zach LaVine, but they both run this offense. And as you mentioned, on the road, DeMar is the one who's been stepping up a little bit more than LaVine, who does his damage a little bit more at home. So feel good about DeMar tonight. And then moving on to another game that should be a high total, but we see it's the Pacers and Charlotte. I'm looking at Gordon Hayward tonight, someone who almost was a Pacer, I feel like, a couple of different times. But he's on Charlotte coming in, and he had a couple bad games in a row, against some really good defenses in the Warriors and Washington, both elite defenses in the top 5, actually. And before that, though, he was in a nice, pretty nice groove. And against the Pacers, specifically last time he played them, 27 points, shot the ball 22 times. He had, about a 30% usage rate in that one as well. So, feeling pretty good about how much he's going to be getting the ball, especially tonight, as this is a pretty good matchup for him, where you see the defenders for the Pacers a little bit more. Malcolm Brogdon's going to be a little bit more at the top of the key. You've got Miles Turner and DeMontis down low, but Gordon Hayward can do his thing from the stretch wing and from outside, and that's where I do think he'll be able to get plenty of points tonight. A pretty low points prop at 15.5. This is a game where I kind of wanted to eye the total. Charlotte, the top scoring team in the league right now, are in the top 3, and also a pretty bad defensive team and plays at a really high pace. But it's Indiana at home that scares me, right? They've got the second slowest pace in the league when they play at home, and they've got a pretty good defensive rating at home, at least 106. At least it's better than on the road for them. And so I think you look at what they're, like I said, on the wings, they give up a ton of threes. They give up a really bad, a high 3-point percentage to their opponents, about 36.5 a clip. And they give up a ton of free throws a game. So Gordon Hayward's game is tailor-made for this, to get points either from the wings, shooting outside, or driving into the lane and doing what he does. So 15.5 points feels good. I don't love taking anything to do with the win here in terms of that player performance double for him. You can get a little bit more juice on those points if you take it with a win for Charlotte, and get plus 200 on your money versus about minus 115 if you just take those points. But I'm here to win money and not gamble it too crazily. So I think I would just take those points and not worry about the win there.
Yeah, the points total is very exploitable, though, because you mentioned the 2 duds, but prior to that, 21.5 points per game over 6 appearances against some solid defenses, not necessarily the best or worst of the league, but that's about the expectation for Gordon Hayward, is a 20-point scorer in a good matchup like this one. And it is a little bit of a homecoming for him, even though it's at home. He does like playing against those Pacers.
Yeah.
Moving on to the Mavericks, who are without Luka Doncic once again. He is doubtful tonight with that ankle sprain. And we just saw this matchup at the Suns on Wednesday. Tim Hardaway Jr. was our prop pick in that one, and he came through with 22 points on a healthy 23 field goal attempts. He is not shy, and I would not be shy about taking his prop again tonight, either the 17 points or I like 22.5 points rebounds to give you a little bit of a cushion there in a game where they did rebound evenly with the Suns in that last game, 49-49. They shot 50% from 3 as a team. THJ went 3 for 8. If he hits one more of those, we're talking getting over that juicy scoring prop he has there. If you want to be a little safer, I think Jalen Brunson has some intriguing props as well, and he will have the ball in his hands almost as much as Luka typically does. His scoring prop is 17.5. He's averaging 19 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists his last 7 without Luka. So I'd look at that, or 24.5 points / assists, which is even money at FanDuel. He had an 18, 9, and 9 line on Wednesday. Should note also Kristaps Porzingis had a nice 21 and 8 game, but he's not a guy we really trust on a night-to-night basis, at least from a health standpoint. But THJ and Brunson, THJ, who was averaging 26 points per game in his last 5 without Luka, heading into that matchup, got another 22. I think both of those guys are worth targeting with the Mavericks shorthanded here.
Yep, that makes perfect sense. It's a great moment for value. THJ, death taxes, THJ pulling threes. I think we can feel comfortable about all of those. All I'll say here is that is our gift card for today, Nate. We're going to talk about both of these guys, Brunson and THJ. So make sure you're liked and subscribed to the page to be eligible, and let us know how many points combined you think those 2 guards will have tonight for the Luka-less Mavericks against the Suns again in that back-to-back in Phoenix for the Mavs. Need to be liked and subscribed to the page to be eligible to give us that total there. Jalen Brunson and Tim Hardaway Jr. points combined. Get that gift card out to as many people as get it right. I'm going to bet on both these guys tonight too as well, Nate. I love Jalen Brunson. I actually liked THJ when he was on the Knicks as well. I'm happy to have a guy who's able to make those threes, super athletic. Love the way he jumps as high as he can on every 3-pointer. It's very fun to watch. So, I'm going to be watching that game as well, because I think it's another stars out, bets up for us as well for the Mavs there. Going to a game that I'm not going to pick the Magic to win against the Nets, as they're about 12.5-point dogs right now, which could only get worse, honestly. But I do think that we can eye some of the rookies, specifically Franz Wagner for the Magic, who, better than his older brother Mo. And he's had a couple of nice games this year. He actually won a couple games for them in the earlier in the season. But he's getting plenty of run, and he's a guy that I think that they're going to try to continue to build around. And the last time he played the Nets, he got 32 minutes in that game. He had it was not close. It was a 33-point whooping. But it doesn't matter. The Magic aren't really playing to win right now. They're playing to get guys like Franz in there and give him minutes, which is what I'm looking at. And, you know, that usage rate for him is pretty high, especially for a guy who needs to be passed the ball rather than bring it down. In his last 5, you know, Franz has played 32 minutes in all 5 of those games, averaging close to 13 points and about 6 boards, shooting about 40% from the field. So, you know, I think his points, rebounds, and assists at about 18.5, you can feel pretty good about when he does have the ball in his hands. He is a pretty able-bodied passer for a young big man. And on the road, he's got some decent splits, averaging 16 points, about 5 boards as well on the road, shooting 50-40, and then a measly 67% from the line, which he can improve, but still pretty good splits and pulling threes at a 40% clip as well. So I think there's stats to be had against Brooklyn, who isn't necessarily going to bring it, in my opinion, that strongly all over the court tonight against a pretty bad Magic team. And you can find some value from Franz getting some points, rebounds, maybe a few assists, but it's only a couple assists he's expected to get. I think, getting that total at 18.5 for all 3 of those categories feels pretty good for him.
Yeah, and I like exploiting the rotation possibilities here tonight with Nicholas Claxton questionable for the Nets. Will they go small, more LaMarcus Aldridge, more Blake Griffin? That's what I think. We saw Wendell Carter Jr. benched after playing just 18 minutes in that blowout loss. So if he's out, then Franz is going to get a lot more looks as that pick and pop guy. And to your point, it doesn't matter if it's a blowout or a close game. The Magic are still thrilled to be giving a promising rookie minutes. That's why I feel a little more comfortable than taking James Harden or Kevin Durant props in this situation where the Nets just absolutely walloped this team the last time they played only 9 days ago.
Yeah, I do like James Harden against a bad team, too, to just be a stat filler. But I also don't know which version of the Nets team I'm going to get in terms of heart and hustle and all that. So, yeah, Franz is the play tonight for me in that one. But that is all the time that we have for today, Nate. As I mentioned, we've got that gift card opportunity. Tim Hardaway Jr. and Jalen Brunson's combined points. Throw that in the chat in the comments. Make sure to be liked and subscribed to the page to be eligible. And until we see you next, happy betting.